Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, l'Adonai. Naria, Naria, Yitzu Yishenu, Nekadma, Vanapatoda.
Page 12, if you want to follow along. Page 12.
Naria, Yitzu Yishenu, Mizmirat, Naria, Lo. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, l'Adonai.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Good to see everybody for our Rock Shabbat as we close out summer. For a lot of us, summer is over. For those of us who are in school, summer is over. Anybody still? No, we don't have all of our kids in here yet. They're still making their way in. We have a couple kids who are still, the Semino family, they're still in summer. Almost. And it's also, we won't embarrass her too much, but it's also Sarah's birthday today. So happy birthday to Sarah. Welcome everybody who's joining us from home or who's joining us here in person as we welcome in Shabbat, especially this evening with lots of joy. We're thrilled to have our Shabbat band back and to be back here in our sanctuary. As we welcome Shabbat in song this evening, we'll begin as we invite Bruce Folkert to lead us in our candle blessing. It's found on page 2 in our prayer books.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu Lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
We turn to page 20 in our prayer books. As we turn to the words of Lecha Dodi, we walk back through our week. We remember these past 7 days. Part of the cycle of our life is to review these past days, to remember the people we've spoken with, the work we've achieved, but also to take a deep breath as we enter into Shabbat and allow this day to be a gift for us. So as we make that transition, we share these words, and in the last stanza, we'll face our door and welcome Shabbat in with joy as though it is a bride entering her wedding day. Page 20.
Ya la 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 lecha dodi La 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 likrat kala Ya la 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 penei Shabbat לקבל. יאללה לה לה לך דודי, יאללה לה לה לקרקלה, יאללה לה לה פני שבת נקבלה. יאללה לה לה לך דודי, יאללה לה לה לקרקלה, יאללה לה לה פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור ותבורך השמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשמו תפארת ולתהילה. יאללה לה לה לך דודי, יאללה לה לה לקרקלה, יאללה לה לה פני שבת נקבלה. יאללה לה לה לך דודי, יאללה לה לה לקרקלה, יאללה לה לה פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, אורי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. יאללה לה לה לך דודי, יאללה לה לה לקרקלה, יאללה לה לה פני שבת נקבלה. יאללה לה לה לך דודי, יאללה לה לה לקרקלה, יאללה לה לה פני שבת נקבלה. Please rise and face the entrance to your home or to our sanctuary. בואי ושלום עטרת בעל, גם בשמחה ובזכרה תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. יאללה לה לה לך דודי, יאללה לה לה לקרקלה, יאללה לה לה פני שבת נקבלה. יאללה לה לה לך דודי, יאללה לה לה לקרקלה, יאללה לה לה פני שבת נקבלה.
Page 26, we remain standing, Hatzi Kaddish.
Yikadal v'ikadash me'raba be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael ba'agala ba'agala uv'izman kari ve'meru Amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'alam u'al me'almaya yitbarach יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקדושה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירה בעלמה ויאמרו אמן.
Page 28, we turn to our Baruch Hu, our call to worship, followed by our time to open up our eyes to look out, make sure we pay attention to our world and to our prayers this evening. Page 28.
La 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch לעולם ועד. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. We will know that you are one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Please be seated. Page 36, we join together in V'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום אל לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
So I mentioned one birthday. I neglected to mention another. I believe I'm correct. Barbara will tell me if I'm wrong or not. I believe it's Gene Simmons' birthday today. You're welcome. Yes. So Gene Simmons, the lead singer for Kiss, who is Jewish, with I think an Israeli Born in Haifa, thank you. Mother is a Holocaust survivor, thank you. How old is he today? 74 and young. But I think what we could say Gene Simmons was excelled at was being himself and allowing himself to be who he was to the world. Tomorrow morning, it's rare occasion that we will cancel our Shabbat morning practice, but these last few years, on the day in which our city marches for the Pride Parade and in which we have the Pride Festival this year in downtown Akron, we are getting out with people who, for a long time, have not been able to stand in the streets and be who they are in the way that Gene Simmons is, or in the way that the rest of us often have felt that we could be. It's a day of feeling that we can be free and proud of who we are, and to show the world that that value is so important to us as a Jewish community, as a city, as a country, that we must embrace it and be loud about it. It's important to show those moments, to express ourselves, because for centuries, as Jewish people, we have felt the same way, which is why in our prayer book, we read these words. We say that there's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together as we did centuries ago when we were a people who were not mentioned among the many slaves in Egypt, but we became a people who were freed. And so we marched across the Sea of Reeds and we said, now we're going to say who we are. We're going to declare out loud, Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, who are you, God? This is our God who's allowed us to be free. And so we marched very publicly and we sang these words, page 40.
Please join us on page 44 for Yismachu, and feel free to shake and move and dance. This is a fun song. Yismachu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei oneshai. Yismachu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei oneshai. Mekadeshei, Mekadeshei Shari Shabbat, U'olam yisbehu v'yitango v'tov v'chashavat. Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei oneshai. V'hashvi ratzita bo v'kidasho Shabbat, Chei medan yamim, oto ka'arat Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat. Achorei Haneg Shabbat.
We're a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without the moments that we've had gone by. We are reminded that the Exodus lasted a moment, but that moment endured forever. Because what has happened once happens all the time. We stand now, page 46, the words of our Amidah, words that call us to remember the past, but to be in the present at the same time. Please rise, page 46. Page 48.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanorah, Alayom, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot V'imahot, U'mevi Geula Livnei V'nehem, L'man Shemo V'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol atah Rav Lehoshia, Morid atah, Mechakel Chayim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Be'rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומינו מלך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל
אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated. Page 57. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, and our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers, and we pray that we there find you, along with the courage and insight and endurance, that we let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadecha b'yirah na'avod. On page 60 and 61 are our prayers for peace. This evening we'll share them in the creative version on the left-hand side, page 61. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace. Give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. And we ask that you bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations, that contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes, strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all of humanity. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael, bashalom. Praise are you, God, who blesses people with peace. Take a moment for our own personal prayers as we reflect during our Amidah.
Ose shalom imromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru Shalom Nimrama, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, Ve'imru Hit Israel, ve'al yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen.
Shabbat Shalom. So Carrie and I have, we like to go hiking, as many of you know, but our kids, especially our boys who are here tonight, the word hiking isn't always their favorite word. So we found new vocabulary. We say, let's go see a waterfall. Let's go, their favorite is, let's go climb some rocks. It's just, we just have to walk to the rocks that you're gonna climb. But our usually relatively shy and quiet Ezra, if we see a rock, Ezra is, first of all, incredibly fast, those of you who've taught him, some of whom are in the room, and who know him. And he also has the ability to climb to the top of things very well and very quickly. And our quiet youngest child will climb up to the top of a rock, stand at the top of a boulder, and you're probably not going to do it now, will you? What will you shout? Correct? He becomes the lion from the Lion King, Simba, shouting at the top of the jungle the words that we get entirely wrong and hopefully offend no one. But he stands at the top and he shouts these words, which, now is the pop quiz part, are the beginning to which song in the Lion King? The Circle of Life. And so, in case we forgot what a circle looks like, there'll be no hula hooping from this rabbi, but we pay a lot of attention to the lion shouting from the top of the rock, or in our case, our youngest cub shouting from the top of a rock. The words of the song are actually brilliant, and they talk all about the concept of a circle. It really shouldn't be a circle. We would say maybe the journey of life, we would say, or the line of life. The path of life would make more sense. But they use the concept of a circle, which is a really Jewish concept at this time of year. I'll tell you why in a moment. But here's the chorus to the song. The circle of life moves us all through despair and hope, through faith and love, till we find our place on the path unwinding in the circle of life. It's not a line. It's not a destination A to B. It's a circle. No beginning, no end. That's what that little lion shouts at the top of the rock to tell us he's learned about life at that moment. There's a book called This Is Real and You Are Completely Unprepared. It's by Rabbi Alan Liu. It is a classic for this time of year. It's all about preparing for the High Holy Days. And last year we did a book club at this time of year. We're not doing a formal book club, but if you want to pick up a book and follow along, every week leading to today begins Elul. We're 1 month, Jewish month from Rosh Hashanah. And so the book that I'm rereading this year is This Is Real and You Are Completely Unprepared by Alan Liu. He talks about the role that the circle plays as we prepare for Rosh Hashanah. First, the circle of nature. For the ancient Israelites, this is a good Jewish pop quiz question. What month is Rosh Hashanah in the Jewish calendar? It's the beginning of the year, but it's the 7th month, because it was the 8th month in which the Israelites had their rainy season. All the other civilizations around the ancient Israelites had a river. The Israelites had no river. They relied entirely on the rain, and they didn't know if the rain was going to come until the 8th month. So the 7th month became the month of worry. Will I get what I need to survive this year again? It was the end of the circle. And so, as they were nervous, they said, we've got to come together and pray. As we come to the end of this circle and begin again, we've got to ask God once again to bring us what we need, sustenance, so that we can start over. That's where we are now. We look in these days and weeks ahead, the circle of nature, as our year for school children begins, as our summer ends and things enter into fall for us, and we see things start to die. We have to look and say, where were we a year ago as we approach Rosh Hashanah? And we follow the circle of nature. We come back to where we were a year ago and say, will I have the blessings this year that got me this far? Will those come in the year ahead? The second circle, he quotes King Samuel. He talks about the circle of a journey. King Samuel was known to travel to do what he called a circuit. So every year, he would go around and check on the people, and he would start in the town of Ramah, where he lived, to go to the town of Bethel, to the town of Gilgal, to the town of Mitzpah, and then he would go back to Ramah again. But this is a wonderful quote that reminds us again of the power of a circle. If you're moving along the circumference of a circle, Rabbi Lou says, it might seem as if the starting point from which you leave takes you further away from where you began, but every step you take on a circle, it's actually leading you back to where you started. So every time you go on a circuit, King Samuel, the second he left Ramah, he was already on his way back to Ramah, because the journey of a circle is one that has no beginning or no ending, or as some people say, every ending is the beginning to something new. We look at the hardest parts of our year, the things that challenged us most, disappointed us, perhaps the things that broke, or the people who we lost, as we always do at the holidays. It is not an end. It is perhaps an end that leads to another beginning, or it is simply another step leading us back around our circle. Which leads us to the third circle. Can't write many Jewish books without a baseball analogy, and so Rabbi Lou talks about the baseball diamond. When you play baseball and someone rounds the bases, as we say, every player who makes it around to home plate, they can say that they went on exactly the same path that every other player went on to get to that place. And yet, the game is not the same. Every time someone crosses home plate, the game is changed. Lou points out that when he thought about his childhood home in White Plains, New York, every time he would return home, he noticed two things. One, home was different, and two, so was he. It was the same place, he was the same person, but every time he went around the bases, every time he got home, something was different in him, something was different in this place he had known his whole life. Rosh Hashanah, we hear the words of Avinu Malkeinu. It's the same every year. We're in the same space, we're probably sitting next to the same people, and yet the question is, how has our community changed? How have we changed? And so it's our month to prepare for our home stretch, our month to be nervous and thoughtful, our month to remember the many times when we've been exactly at this place in life and the many ways that we've changed. So, should we stand on top of a rock and shout? Ezra, he would say yes. That's not what we do. But we have something as ancient, we would say, and it's the tradition in many congregations that during the month of Elul, you hear the sound of the shofar, a sound that in its very ancient way calls to us to remember all the other times in our life we've heard that sound. It reminds us that our year is circular, that we're coming back to a place where we have to remind ourselves how we've changed. And so, as we turn to our Torah service now, we'll begin by sharing, hopefully, the sound of the shofar. And then we'll read the words from our Torah as we continue through the book of Deuteronomy, in the home stretch of that book as well, as we begin to close out our Torah this year and look towards our holidays, Simchat Torah, when we'll begin Torah again. So please rise as we'll hear the sound of the shofar and then turn to page 250 for our Torah service. For the record, I practiced 3 times and it worked all 3 times in my office. Close enough. Page 250, our Torah service.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, udavar Adonai mirushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah Torah, Le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo Gadalu Adonai iti Uneramema Shemo Yaktav Lecha Adonai Hagedula Hagevura V'hatiferet V'hanetzach V'hahod Ki cho b'shamayim uvaretz Ki cho b'shamayim uvaretz Lecha Adonai hamamlacha v'hamid na'aseh lechol rosh Al shlosha devarim Al shlosha devarim Al shlosha devarim halam amid Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, halam amen. Al haTorah ve'al havodah ve'al gemilut chasadim. Al haTorah ve'al havodah ve'al gemilut chasadim.
Please be seated. We'll join together in the blessing over the Torah. It's found on page 250. Baruch Adonai Haborach, Baruch Adonai Haborach le'olam va'ed, Baruch Adonai Haborach le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher bachar banu mikol amim, v'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ele hachukim v'hamishpatim asher tishmerun la'asot ba'aretz asher natan Adonai Elohei asher tishmerun lishlu ba'aretz asher natan Adonai Elohei avotecha l'chol rishta kol hayamim asher atem chayim al ha'adama ebed ta'abdun et kol hamkorot asher avdu sham chagoyim asher item yisharun atem et Elohechem al harechem harim v'al hagvuot v'tachat kol eitz ra'anan v'nitzatem et mitz b'tocham v'shibirtem et matzevotem v'rishetem tisrafun ba'esh Ufsile Elohechem Hagdeun Ve'ibartem et shamam mim hamakom hahu. Lo ta'asun kain ladonai Elohechem.
The blessing after the reading. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. So the verses that Ken or Kathy chanted are, if you want to go home and read them, chapter 12, the beginning of chapter 12. It's good R-rated destructive stuff. So it reads, "These are the laws which you must carefully observe in the land that God has given you. You must destroy all the sites which belong to the other nations. There, in particular, you have to destroy their altars and the sacred posts that they have and the images of their other gods. Do not worship God in the way that they worshiped God, but look only to the site that God will choose amidst your tribes as the place in which God dwells to establish God's name there." So we often talk about this as God's jealousy, God's desire that we as a people remain loyal. And for those of us who are in Torah study, we often talk about, for the frequency with which these sorts of verses come up, our people must have broken the rules a lot, because God reminds them all the time to stop straying from the ways in which they were. So those are the verses we have. Lots of breaking idols this week. We'll share the words of Misha Berach, that those who are in need of healing find that sense of healing this week.
Misheberach Avotenu Mekor Habracha Laimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
If there are names you'd like to share, please share them as we look around the room. Nancy Kelly.
Kathy Meyerson. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha layavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Please stand as we return the Torah to the Ark.
V'zot haTorah asher sa Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai yad Moshe. Yadalai lai lai, yadalai lai lai, yadalai lai 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 lai, yadalai lai lai, yadalai lai 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 lai, yadalai lai lai, yadalai lai lai, yadalai lai 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 lai, yadalai lai lai, yadalai lai lai, yalai, 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 yalai. Etz Chaim hi lamachzikim ba v'tomecha meushar deracheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha shalom Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh, Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem
Page 282, Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol L'tekedu l'liotzer breshit Shelo asani kegugei haratzot Velo samanu kamishpachot adama Shelo samchelkeinu kahem V'gor aleinu kechohamonam V'anachnu korim Umishtachavim umodim Lifnei melech mochei hamlachim Hakadosh Baruch Hu V'nemar v'hai Adonai L'melech al kol haaretz Bayom hahu Yiyah Adonai echad U'shemo echad.
Please be seated. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision, our grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan, and yet we know that growth and decay, life and death, they all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggle of life, is also our hope in death. We've set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and in the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love are we comforted. O life of our life and soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with our abiding trust in you. We turn now as we remember those that we've lost recently in our community. Ruth Rubenstein, Kathy Habel, Sylvia Lewis, Joan Nelson, Tal Fishman, and Adrian Berkowitz. We add to their names those that we remember this week on the anniversary of their passing: Dorothy Birnbaum, Louis Philip Birnbaum, Penny Frank Dubeck, Arnold Ehrenberg, Cy Feinselber, Sidney Felder, Ben Felstein, Harold Firestone, Samuel Goldman, Sarah Goldman, Ben Holub, Samuel D. Cates, Dr. Irving Kavar, Albert Klausner, Libby Kraus, Dr. Alan Krivis, Francis Marcus, Ronnie Marks, Gerald Meltzer, Benjamin Moorstein, Dr. Philip Panitz, Mary Ann Pressman, Molly Reisberg, Ruth Schaefer, Dr. Victor Schiller, Ruth Schulman, Ona Sloan Schultz, Martin Schweiger, Betty Jane Schechter, Lawrence E. Siff, Sheila Silver, Joel Silverman, Esther Spiro, Sadie Tobias, Jacob Weinberg, and Samuel Zoss. If there are names that I mispronounced or names you'd like to share, please share them with us. Page 294. We rise as we remember our loved ones, our friends whom we've lost, with the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, B'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, B'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei olmaya, Yitbarak v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithalev v'yithalal shemei dekudasha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata ta'amiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Having blessed and honored those that we've loved and lost, we honor those in our community and each other with the words of the priests. May God bless you and keep you. May God's light shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May you feel God's presence within you always, and may you find peace.
Amen.
We invite Bruce up to lead us in our Kiddush, and we have a number of kids here also. Why don't we invite all of our kids up to lead us in Motzi? So kids, you can join Bruce. No, you don't. Come on. You stand over here next to Bruce. He's nice. He doesn't bite.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. B'Shabbat kodesho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lamikra'ei kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim, ki banu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim, v'Shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen.
L'chaim. All right, Dylan, you want to uncover the challah? Make sure it's there.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
All right, you guys can have a piece of the challah if you want. Please be seated. We'll invite Elaine Newman to share a couple announcements with us. Yeah, sure.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you to Bruce Folkerth and all the kids. Oh, they're still up here. Well, thank you anyhow. And now you're going to pass that. Okay. Okay. And thank you to our Rock Shabbat band. And thank you to Cantor Kathy for my glasses, because otherwise, if she didn't have glasses, I wouldn't be able to see tonight. Tomorrow is the Pride March. And if you want to walk, please call Carol Freeman. And Sunday is the Brotherhood Cookout. And kickoff is Sunday at 6:30 at Temple. Free to Brotherhood and prospective members, RSP to Larry Roth. And there will be no Torah study tomorrow. And the next is Rabbi Brown, because he must not trust me for the next information. Shabbat Shalom. Oh, I took it. I could have read that.
So I've been tasked with telling everybody that we have to pre-register. That way Elaine doesn't become the bad woman or Andrew the bad guy. For the High Holy Days, you have to pre-register this year. We could say that, period. And ask 1,000 questions. The answer is yes, they have to pre-register. It doesn't matter if they come from the moon. It doesn't matter if they are members or not members. The answer is you got to pre-register. So if you have people coming in, if you have 10 people, that's 10 pre-registrations. So everybody needs to pre-register. That's how our security officers are going to know who's to be in the building and who's not to be in the building. And that's how you will get, that will be your ticket. So it's, we've tried to set up an easy process. It's online, it's active now. You can register now. And we hope that you'll register and register often. And that we'll see you at the High Holy Days. And also all bags will be searched. That's also on my list. And make sure that you get here early, which I know you will for the holidays. So the holidays are coming up. They're a month away. We look forward to seeing everybody. We're beginning on the 17th with Slichot, which will be our wonderful dedication of our new Mishkan. So we'll see you there too. And
I'd like to thank my Rock Shabbat band, Rob Shale on drums, Egan Ammerman on keys, Zach Nagy-Shale on bass, and Justin Tibbs on saxophone. Aren't they great? And we're going to close with Adon Olam. Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Le'et Nasa, V'chefso Kol, Azai Melech Shamo Nikra. ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'et Nasa V'chefso Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'acharei kikvot hakol Levado Yimloch Nora V'hu haya V'hu hove V'hu yeh b'tifar. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'et Nasa V'chefso Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'acharei kikvot hakol Levado Yimloch Nora V'hu haya V'hu hove B'tifara V'hu haya V'hu hove B'tifara. Mi'ado Apkid Ruchi B'yet Ishan B'ya'ira V'imrepi Geviyati Adonai li V'lo ira. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'et Nasa V'chefso Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'acharei kikvot hakol Levado Yimloch Nora V'hu haya V'hu hove V'hu yeh b'tifara. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'et Nasa V'chefso Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'acharei kikvot hakol Levado Yimloch Nora V'hu haya V'hu hove b'tifara. V'hu haya V'hu hove Shabbat Shalom.